What if the entire history of humanity is a lie? What if heaven and hell are not fighting for our souls, but for us as beings, the only resource in the universe capable of generating free will? Imagine yourself in the Vatican archives. The air is thick, smelling of dust and secrecy. Around you stretch endless shelves disappearing into darkness, 15 centuries of human history sealed under wax. And in your hands lies not just a book, but a blueprint, an architectural plan of reality itself. Its author is known to us as Pseudo-Dionysius the Areopagite, 5th century. His treatise on the celestial hierarchy is not theological fiction, it is a job manual for the universe. The official version claims that, in the beginning, there was perfect order, a cosmic council built of pure light and thought. 9 ranks, 3 triads. Each in its place, each performing its function with flawless precision. Look at this blueprint with me. At the top are the seraphim, 6-winged beings of pure fire. They burn with eternal love for the Creator. Their only task is to love. Below them, the cherubim, guardians of knowledge. They are the living libraries of the cosmos. Lower still, the thrones, the foundation of the divine seat. They embody justice, the highest government. Then comes the middle tier, dominions, virtues, and powers. They are the administrators. Dominions oversee the lower angels. Virtues uphold the laws of physics, spin galaxies, ignite stars. And powers, remember this, restrain demons, keep hell on a tight leash. They are the border guard between light and darkness. Finally, the lowest echelon, those who work directly with our world, principalities, archangels, and angels. They guide nations, bring messages, protect individuals. A perfect system. A timeless clockwork in which every gear knows its place. A symphony of light where every note has its part. No excess, no failures. A universe functioning as a single flawless organism. We've been told for centuries that this order guarantees stability, that good will always prevail because it is built into the very fabric of existence. But let's look at the blueprint as detectives and ask one devastating question. If the system was perfect, how could an error appear within it? If the mechanism was created by a perfect engineer, how could it fail? The official answer is simple: pride. Free will. One gear decided to turn the other way. Too simple. Too human. A children's explanation. Let's return to the blueprint and look at it as code, the software of creation. Any programmer knows. The most dangerous vulnerability is not a bug. It's a built-in function whose consequences were never calculated. What if rebellion was not an accident, but a requirement? Imagine a computer that can't crash. It performs only what is programmed. It does not choose. It simply works. Now imagine a being created for eternal love. If it has no ability to choose hatred, is its love real? A being created for absolute loyalty. Can it be loyal if betrayal isn't even an option? You feel it too, don't you? That cold shiver down your spine, the realization that at the heart of the perfect design ticked a bomb. A bomb called choice. Perfect order could not exist without its shadow, potential chaos. The schism wasn't random. It was programmed. Inevitable. Part of the plan. The Creator designed not a prison of light, but an arena, a place where loyalty had to be proven. And for this test he needed someone to press the red button. The first dissident, the brightest, most powerful, most perfect of all. He endowed him with the maximum of his gifts, knowing that this very maximum would produce doubt. It wasn't an error. It was intention. So the main question shifts. Not how the system broke, but who was designed to break it. Who first looked at the perfect blueprint of heaven and saw not harmony, but a golden cage? How do you turn light into darkness? This is not a poetic question. It is the core of the investigation. We are told of Lucifer, the light-bearer, the morning star. These names speak not of evil, but of brilliance, knowledge, the first ray piercing the darkness. The official version from Isaiah says he fell because of pride. I will ascend. I will be like the Most High. And that's all? A cosmic civil war because someone wanted to be in charge? That fits petty tyrants, but not a masterpiece. Ezekiel describes him as the seal of perfection, full of wisdom, crowned with beauty. Why would a masterpiece imitate its maker? The official story is too convenient, written by the victors. But the Apocrypha tell another story, the Book of the Secrets of Enoch, the life of Adam and Eve. In them, the trigger is a command to bow to a new creature, the human. Imagine that moment. Eternity stands still. 9 ranks gaze upon a fragile being shaped from dust. And the command sounds, bow to him. Michael obeys. Lucifer does not. And his arguments sound like a prosecutor's speech. I am born of light. He is born of dust. I am wisdom. He is chaos. I am elder. He is younger. Why should I bow to one beneath me? You yourself set the order. It was not envy. It was rebellion for order, not against it. He saw humanity not as the crown of creation, but as a flaw, a virus. And looking at history, can we say he was entirely wrong? But this is only the surface. He was the fullness of wisdom, which means he could see further than anyone. What if he saw our future? Rivers of blood spilled for God's humans would invent. Cities reduced to ash. Lies crowned as truth. Technologies meant to heal turned into engines of destruction. He saw free will become a curse, a perpetual machine of suffering. The symphony of creation turning into a dying scream. And he was horrified. His fall wasn't selfish ambition. It was a desperate attempt to stop an apocalypse, a preemptive strike. He saw humanity as an existential threat to the universe. He tried to warn the architect. Stop. This creation will destroy everything. He was not heard. So he made a choice. If order cannot be preserved by loyalty, he will preserve it by rebellion. If the Creator sacrifices perfection for an experiment, then Lucifer will become the opposition. The eternal proof that this idea was a mistake. So we have 2 versions. The first, the official one. A capricious, vain courtier who wanted power. A simple black and white story for the masses. The second, reconstructed from fragments of forbidden texts. A brilliant visionary, a fanatical defender of the system, who foresaw the coming chaos and tried to prevent it, only to become its catalyst. A tragedy of cosmic proportions. Which version do you believe? But if Lucifer was right in his diagnosis, if he truly wanted to save the universe from the chaos of humanity, then his war could not have been a war of annihilation. It was a war of ideas. And to wage such a war, strength alone was not enough. A living counterargument was needed, someone who would prove that loyalty by choice is stronger than rebellion by conviction. The Creator needed his own champion, a general equal to the first dissident in power, yet opposite in spirit. And he stepped forward. His name was Michael, he who is like God. Their duel was inevitable. But why? Why is it still not over? What happens after the decisive battle? We are always shown the same image, a victor standing on a field strewn with defeated enemies. Evil is vanquished, peace arrives. The end of the story. But what if the battle was not decisive? What if it was only the first act? There was war in heaven, so begins chapter 12 of the book of Revelation. On one side, Michael and his angels. On the other, the dragon, the ancient serpent, called the devil and Satan, and his angels. The official tale frames this as a blitzkrieg, a lightning war. Michael, whose very name is a battle cry, who is like God, leads the heavenly legion. Satan, formerly Lucifer, now the adversary, fights back. But the forces of light prevail. Evil is cast down to earth. Curtain. A beautiful heroic story, but it contains a gaping hole almost no one notices. If Satan was so easily defeated in heaven, the center of divine power where he was weakest, then why did he suddenly become so powerful here on earth? Why has the prince of this world, as he is called in the Gospel of John, been waging a successful guerrilla war for thousands of years, a war the hosts of heaven cannot seem to suppress? It makes no sense. It's like crushing an army in open battle, then letting it dig in behind your lines and terrorize your capital. Either the victory in heaven was far from complete, or it wasn't a defeat at all. Perhaps it was a tactical withdrawal. Let's look at the two commanders not as symbols, but as strategists. Michael, the perfect soldier, the embodiment of duty, loyalty, and order. His power lies in absolute obedience to the system. He doesn't question, he executes. He is the sword in God's hand, a flawless weapon. And now his opponent, Satan. Once the pinnacle of creation, brilliant, strategic, a master of psychology. His strength lies not in brute force, but in finding vulnerabilities. He doesn't break the system, he hacks it from within. He is a virus. He knows the code because he once helped write it. These two meet in battle. Michael attacks head-on, with power and righteous fury. Satan understands he cannot win in open combat on enemy territory, so he does what any brilliant commander outnumbered and outmatched would do: he changes the battlefield. He does not lose the war in heaven. He relocates it to a place far more advantageous to him, to earth, to the minds and souls of humanity. Evidence of this ongoing war is everywhere, if you know how to read it. We are not talking about ancient texts. We are talking about records, exorcism protocols. Speak to any experienced exorcist and they will tell you. Demons do not speak on their own behalf. They say they have been sent. They say they are soldiers in a vast campaign. They name their commanders, describe the hierarchy, report completed missions. These are not chaotic screams. They are field reports from the front. On the other side, we have the lives of saints, accounts of visions in which the Archangel Michael appears to warn them, strengthen them, point out the enemy's weak spots. He is not resting on a heavenly throne. He is active, commanding, personally inspecting the hottest points of the front. The war never ended. It simply shifted from open conflict to covert operations, sabotage, psychological warfare. And each of us is not merely a spectator. Each of us is a potential agent of influence, a resource, a battlefield. But the main question remains. If the forces are nearly equal, if one is the perfect sword and the other the perfect virus, then why has neither side achieved final victory in thousands of years? What is this eternal stalemate? Mystics and esoteric traditions have long insisted there exists a cosmic law, a balance. Neither side can unleash its full strength without tearing reality apart. They cannot simply annihilate each other with legions of angels or demons. That would be too crude, too destructive. It is like two nuclear superpowers forced to wage war only through spies and propaganda because a direct attack would destroy them both. Their hands are tied. They can act only through intermediaries, through those who have the right to choose. Through us. Every historical event is not an accident. It is a move in their endless chess match. The rise and fall of empires, scientific breakthroughs that can save or destroy, religious schisms, masterpieces of art, monstrous ideologies, all pieces on the board.
Michael inspires sacrifice, courage, creation.
Satan tempts with power, knowledge without responsibility, division. They do not fight each other directly. They fight for us, for whose strategy we choose. And now we reach the most unsettling part of this investigation. This cosmic stalemate, this balance of power, it is no accident. It benefits both sides. Because as long as the war continues, both generals retain their authority, their status, their necessity. What becomes of an army when eternal peace arrives? What becomes of a great commander with no enemy to fight? Perhaps they don't actually want the war to end. Perhaps they need this eternal conflict to justify their existence. But if that's the case, if we are merely pawns in their endless game, then why? Why this tiny speck of dust called Earth? Why us, fragile mortal beings? What do we have that they don't? Ask yourself that. The universe holds hundreds of billions of galaxies, each with hundreds of billions of stars. Countless worlds. So why have two cosmic powers chosen this small wet planet on the outskirts of the Milky Way as their primary battlefield? The official religious answer is simple and egocentric. Because we are special. Because God loves us most. We are the crown of creation. A comforting thought. But it smells like propaganda. It makes us passive, a prize to be saved. A detective always looks for motive. Let's set theology aside and view this strategically. Why does any army seize territory? Either for its strategic location or for its resources. Consider the first, Earth as a strategic point. A crossroads, a cosmic gateway. Some esoteric traditions claim this, that our planet is a nexus of dimensions. Control it, and you control the pathways. Interesting, but it doesn't explain why the main instruments of this battle are humans. If it were only about geography, we would have been wiped out long ago like inconvenient insects. Therefore, it is not the land. It is the resource. But what resource could we possibly offer beings of light and shadow? We lack their power, knowledge, immortality. What do we have that they don't? The answer is so obvious we stopped seeing it. It was given at the very beginning. The same bomb encoded into creation, the very reason Lucifer rebelled. Free will. Angels are beings of order. Their will aligns with the Creator. They cannot choose evil. It contradicts their nature. They are trains that can run only along their rails. Demons, fallen angels, beings who made their choice once and forever. Their will is fixed in opposition. A train derailed, it can go anywhere, except back to the tracks. Both are locked into their nature. Now look at us. We are unpredictable. Every minute we choose, help or walk away, tell the truth or lie, create or destroy. Each choice produces energy, a unique energy found nowhere else in the universe. The energy of unpredictability. The energy of potential. Our free will is not a philosophical metaphor. It is a power source. A generator. Imagine two vast energy empires, heaven and hell, locked in an eternal cold war, their resources dwindling. And suddenly they discover a small undeveloped country containing the only known source of the purest, most powerful fuel. And that fuel is us. Our souls. More precisely, the energy produced at the moment of genuine choice. When a person chooses love, sacrifice, compassion, they produce energy of the light spectrum. It feeds the hierarchy of heaven. When a person chooses anger, envy, fear, greed, they generate energy of the dark spectrum. It feeds the legions of hell. We are not the battlefield. We are the power plant. And all of human history is the struggle for control over this power plant. This is why they cannot act directly. Direct interference destroys the generator. A choice made under force is not a choice. It generates nothing. So they must act subtly, through whispers, temptations, inspirations. Michael tries to persuade us to choose the light. Satan, to choose the darkness. Earth is their cosmic chessboard. But we are not the pieces. We are the ones who decide where every piece moves. And every move we make releases a surge of energy, captured and used by one side or the other. Now the reason this war has dragged on becomes clear. Neither side can gain a decisive advantage because humanity, as a whole, is unstable. We swing endlessly. Today we build cathedrals. Tomorrow we build concentration camps. Today we compose symphonies. Tomorrow we invent the atomic bomb. We are a random number generator. We are the noise that prevents the system from achieving total control. But if we are the main prize and the primary resource, then there must be rules, an instruction manual for operating this power plant. Something that explains how to interact with humanity to extract maximum energy. Such a manual must have been given at the very beginning. So where is it? We look at the Bible, the Quran, the Torah. They tell us how to be good, how to avoid sin, but they do not reveal the mechanics. They read like a user agreement where the most important clauses are printed in tiny letters no one ever notices. What if a complete and censored version of the manual did exist? What if it was hidden? What if there are texts that describe the entire structure of the invisible world, all the rules of the game, all the levers of power? And what if someone very powerful edited the sacred scriptures, tearing out the most dangerous pages? What do you do with a document that can destroy your empire? You don't argue with it. You destroy it, burn it, declare it heresy, and make sure the next generations believe it never existed. We were taught to see the Bible, the Quran, and the Torah as monolithic, immutable books dictated from above. The official version says, "This is the Word of God, preserved in purity and delivered through the prophets." But history is a crime scene. Look closely, and you'll see traces of editing everywhere, traces of censorship. Travel to the 4th century CE, to the city of Nicaea. Emperor Constantine gathers the First Ecumenical Council. 318 bishops from across the Roman Empire assemble to answer one question: what do we believe? What is our doctrine? What is the official version? Imagine the atmosphere: political maneuvering, theological arguments, power struggles. And on the table before them lies not one book but dozens, even hundreds. Different gospels, different letters, different revelations. The Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, the Gospel of Truth, the Gospel of Judas, the Book of Enoch. A whole library of alternative realities. And these 318 men, pressured by an emperor who needs one unified, convenient state religion, begin the filtering process. They pick up the scalpel and start cutting. This gospel is too mystical. That one gives too much authority to women. Here Judas is not a traitor, but the executor of a secret plan. This text is outright dangerous. Out of the canon. Burn it. Forget it. What we now call the New Testament is not a complete archive. It is an edited anthology, a collection approved by a 4th century censorship committee. Everything else was declared apocryphal, secret, forbidden. People could be executed simply for possessing these books. But why? What was so dangerous in those texts that an entire empire hunted them? Let's open one of those forbidden files. Egypt, December 1945. A peasant finds a sealed clay jar in a cave. Inside, 13 ancient codices wrapped in leather. The Nag Hammadi Library, the lost texts of the Gnostics, people who believed the official church was hiding the truth. And the truth they described turns everything upside down. The Gnostics claim that our world, the material universe, was not created by the All-Good Father, but by a lesser flawed deity, the Demiurge. A jealous, authoritarian tyrant who keeps humanity trapped in the prison of matter and ignorance. The angels and archangels of the official version for the Gnostics are not helpers but jailers, archons, rulers of fate who feed on our passions and fears. And the true God lies far beyond this universe, reachable only by awakening the divine spark within, gnosis. Do you feel how the entire picture shifts? In this version, the heavenly hierarchy is not a rescue service but an occupying administration. Satan even fades into the background, just another archon, another warden. The real enemy is the system itself. Now let's open another suppressed document, the Book of Enoch. It is quoted in the Bible. Early Christians considered it sacred, and then it was banned. Why? Because it reveals what the official version tries to bury. It gives names, ranks, job descriptions. It exposes the entire organizational chart. The Book of Enoch tells of 200 high-ranking angels, known as the Watchers. They were sent to Earth to observe humanity. But they, led by Simjaza, broke the chief command. They saw the daughters of men, desired them, descended on Mount Hermon, and sealed a pact with a curse. They taught humans forbidden knowledge, metallurgy for forging weapons, cosmetics for stirring desire, astrology and sorcery for circumventing divine law. This was not mere rebellion, It was a deliberate sabotage. A transfer of technology humanity wasn't ready for. And from their union with women came a race of giants, the Nephilim. Monsters who devoured everything, and then devoured each other. Violence filled the earth to such a degree that the Creator had to reset the system, the Great Flood. Do you understand what that means? The flood, in this version, was not punishment for human sin. It was a sanitizing operation, a planetary cleanup after an unauthorized contact, after hybrids and forbidden technologies leaked by the fallen. The official version cut this story out, leaving only a vague line in Genesis about the sons of God who came to the daughters of men. Why? Because Enoch's narrative shatters the convenient myth of heavenly infallibility. It shows that the system is not monolithic. Factions exist, angels can betray, fail, act out of desire and ego. The celestial hierarchy looks less like divine harmony and more like a corrupt bureaucratic machine. Someone powerful played chief editor. They combed through the sacred texts and removed everything that could inspire doubt. Everything that showed gods and angels as flawed. Everything that gave humans too much insight into the structure of power. What we were left with was a simple black and white tale, a good god, an evil devil, and a helpless human in between. A story that makes us dependent, on priests, on the church, on the system. But if we reassemble the missing fragments, reconstruct the original blueprint, what does this heavenly corporation really look like? Is it a unified monolith, or a tangled web of departments running their own agendas? What does power truly look like? We imagine a throne, a scepter, a crown. But in the modern world, real power looks different. It's a boardroom, a glass skyscraper, a corporation. Let's forget temples and prayers for a moment. Let's look at the heavens through the eyes of a business analyst. We've mentioned the schema of Pseudo-Dionysius, the 9 ranks of angels. The official version paints them as a heavenly choir. But strip away the gold, and what do you see? A corporate org chart. At the top, the board of directors, seraphim, cherubim, thrones. They don't handle operations. Their job is strategy, defining the company's mission and global goals. Seraphim, the motivation department, generating love of the brand. Cherubim, R&D, they hold all cosmic patents and knowledge. Thrones, legal and internal security, guardians of cosmic law. Next comes upper management, dominions, virtues, powers. Dominions, HR. Virtues, engineering, maintaining physical laws. Powers, special forces, the anti-hell division. Below them, field operators, principalities, archangels, angels. Principalities, regional managers overseeing nations. Archangels, project leaders. Angels, personal consultants, the guardian angel staff. On paper it's perfect. But anyone who has worked in a large corporation knows, perfection exists only on paper. In reality, rivalries, factions, internal conflicts. Remember the book of Job. Satan walks into the board meeting and criticizes the customer relations department. God authorizes a stress test. This is not the act of an all-good monarch, it's a corporate decision. Or the Watchers, a catastrophic security breach, a leak of classified technology, followed by a PR disaster flood. These failures show one thing: the heavens are not unified. There may be war hawks and peace parties, conservatives and reformists, control advocates and free will advocates. And we, humanity, are not the cherished flock. We are a disputed asset. But if heaven is a corporation, then what is hell? A band of anarchists. Popular lore says hell is chaos. But what if that's a lie? Look at the archives long considered cursed, the Key of Solomon, Grimorium Verum, the Goetia. Science dismisses them as superstition. The Church as diabolical inventions. But look at them as a leaked internal directory. It's not just a list of demons. It's a roster of 72 high-ranking administrators of the infernal hierarchy, each with a title, insignia, an area of responsibility. Kings, dukes, marquises, counts, princes, governors. Each with a personal seal, a corporate logo. This is not chaos. It's a totalitarian empire. A rigid feudal machine. Satan, the emperor. 72 princes, his generals. Legions, the army. Remember Christ's temptation in the desert. 3 offers: bread, economic power. The kingdoms of the world, political power, miracle, spiritual power. That's not chaos. That's a merger proposal. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. And now, we continue, my friends. He offers Christ the position of chief executive of Earth's branch of his empire, and their methods are mirror images of one another. If the heavenly corporation operates through inspiration and revelation, the infernal empire works through inversion of truth and the crafting of illusion. In Hinduism, this is called Maya, the ability to create illusions so convincing that a person can no longer distinguish them from reality. The Asuras, Hindu counterparts of demons, are masters of this art. They do not force you to commit evil. They simply create a world in which evil seems like the only reasonable choice. They do not break the laws. They merely turn them upside down. Their goal is not simple destruction. That would be too primitive. Their aim is to construct an alternate system, their own civilization with its own laws, culture, and science, and they actively recruit followers. The fallen angels from the Book of Enoch, those who taught humanity forbidden knowledge, were not mere rebels. They were specialists. Technicians sent to transform human society according to the infernal model. They gave us weapons so we would kill each other. They gave us magic so we would seek power outside divine law. They gave us astrology so we would believe in destiny instead of free will. A disturbing picture emerges. This is not a war between order and chaos, but a war between 2 orders, 2 totalitarian, hierarchical empires. The heavenly one offers salvation through submission and faith, a golden cage. The infernal one offers power through knowledge and ambition, an iron cage. One is built upon love for its supreme ruler, the other on fear of him. But both operate through rigid hierarchy. In both, you're merely a cog in a vast machine. They are reflections of each other. 2 generals, Michael and Satan, nearly equal in power. 2 structures of authority almost identical. Like 2 competing superpowers that gradually become frighteningly similar. But if that's the case, if the entire system is merely a choice between 2 prisons, each with a different interior, then is there another way out? Could someone exist who belongs to neither faction? Someone playing their own game while the 2 empires wage endless war? What if, in the shadow of this great conflict, a third force hides?
Imagine a chessboard.
On it are white pieces and black pieces. They wage war according to strict rules, striving to destroy one another. We assume this is the entire game, the full conflict. But what if someone exists beyond the board? Someone who wears neither white nor black. Someone who watches this war with curiosity, or even contempt. Someone who follows laws of existence entirely foreign to us. We locked reality inside a neat dualism. Angels are good, demons are evil. But what about the beings who defy that binary? The ones found in myths and legends worldwide, yet who have no place in official theology. Let's travel east, into the sands of Arabia. The Quran speaks not of 2 but of 3 intelligent races created by God. Angels made of light, humans made of clay, and jinn made of smokeless fire. This is not metaphor, it is a third branch of creation. According to Islamic tradition, jinn are not demons. Like humans, they possess free will. Some are righteous, some wicked, some believers, some disbelievers. They live in a parallel world, invisible to us. They have cities, tribes, and kings. They can ally with humans, harm them, or simply ignore them. They are not soldiers in the Great War. They are the civilian population caught in the crossfire. Their forefather Iblis, who refused to bow to Adam, is called in the Quran not a fallen angel but a jinn. This changes everything. The rebellion was not caused by one of heaven's own generals, but by a representative of the third race. His revolt was not treason, it was a struggle for independence. He did not seek to rule heaven or dominate mankind. He defended the superiority and autonomy of his people. Now let's head north, into Europe's misty forests. Celtic myths tell of the Sidhi, the fair folk, the good neighbors. For centuries, the church insisted they were disguised demons. But folklore paints a different picture. The fairies are neither good nor evil. They are other. Their morality is alien to us. They may shower a singer with gold for a beautiful song, or abduct his child over a careless word. Their world is parallel to ours. Sometimes the realms touch. They serve neither God nor the devil. They serve their own courts, their own kings and queens, bound by ancient natural laws and magical treaties. Irish legend claims that when Lucifer rebelled, God closed the gates of heaven. Those angels who had not yet chosen between Michael or Lucifer were trapped between worlds. They were not cast into hell, but the heavens became closed to them. They became the fairies, neutrals, eternal exiles, belonging to neither side. And then there are the spirits of the elements, gnomes, undines, salamanders, sylphs, written about by Paracelsus. Not angels, not demons, but the living soul of nature itself. Elementals embody the powers of earth, water, fire, and air. They existed long before humans. To them, our spiritual conflicts are just noise disrupting their work of maintaining balance. They are the indigenous inhabitants of the planet, horrified as two cosmic empires divide their home. What unites jinn, fairies, and elementals? First, from a human standpoint, they are morally ambiguous. Their actions do not fit into our concepts of right and wrong. Second, they are territorial. Angels and demons wage war for the universe. These beings attach to specific places: the desert, a hill, a lake, a mountain. Third and most important, they guard ancient knowledge, knowledge older than any scripture, older than the division into light and darkness. So who are they? Perhaps remnants of a pre-angelic civilization. Perhaps fragments of the first creation, pushed aside when the great project of angels and humans began. They occupy the gray zone, neutral ground. And in any war, neutral ground becomes crucial. Both empires would seek to recruit them, to exploit their power and knowledge. But these beings hesitate, they watch and wait. This brings us to the central question. If there once existed a complete manual of reality, a full cosmological map, then it must have included information about these neutral forces. And this is precisely why such knowledge had to be suppressed. Awareness of a third path destroys the entire system of control built on a forced binary choice. There was one book that may have contained this key, a book describing not only the hierarchies of heaven and hell but also what lay between them. A book that was banned more fiercely than any other. A book written by a man said to have seen everything with his own eyes. We must return to it. We must open it line by line. Why were the revelations of Enoch considered so dangerous that they were nearly erased from human history? Imagine you found a declassified interrogation report, not of a human, but of an angel. A document in which a witness taken to the highest heavens recorded in detail everything he saw, the power structure, the coming judgment, the secret crimes of the celestial elite. Then you would understand why it was banned. The Book of Enoch exists. Its official history is a detective story. It was sacred to early Christians and Jews. It is referenced by apostles Jude and Peter, quoted by church fathers. But after the 1st century it disappears, declared apocryphal and false. Lost for 1,000 years, until the Scottish explorer James Bruce discovered 3 full copies in Ethiopia. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church, isolated from the rest of Christianity, was the only one to preserve it. They protected the evidence others tried to destroy. Why was it so feared? Let's open this forbidden file and read it as a police report. The story begins with the central crime, Chapter 6. 200 angels known as Watchers, led by Semyaza, descend to earth. The official biblical version reduces their sin to lust. But Enoch gives more. He gives names, 20 chiefs of the 200, Azazel, Arakiel, Ramiel. Not just names, but a list of the accused. And he describes exactly what they taught humanity. Azazel taught men to forge swords, knives, shields, and armor. He introduced metallurgy, effectively giving humanity weapons of mass destruction. He taught women the use of cosmetics, jewelry, and adornments, not for beauty but for manipulation, psychological warfare inciting lust and jealousy. Semyaza taught sorcery.
Ormorostot spellkraft.
Barakiel taught astrology. Kokabeel taught the signs of the stars. This was not a fall, it was a coordinated infiltration. They armed and corrupted the client base of the heavenly corporation. They handed a grenade to the monkey, and that was just the beginning. The most shocking part is Enoch's journey. He is not a prophet who had a dream whispered to him. The text describes how angels physically lift him up. He travels through 7 heavens. He sees the cosmic machinery, the storehouses of snow, hail, and dew, the angels who govern the stars. It reads more like a technical inspection report than mystical poetry. He sees what he should never have seen. He sees the prison where the fallen angels are held, a blazing abyss. He speaks to them. One of their leaders, Azazel, begs Enoch to act as their advocate, to deliver their petition for mercy to heaven. Imagine this, a mortal becoming a mediator between God and rebellious angels. This undermines the entire heavenly hierarchy. It reveals that communication between heaven and the fallen is broken, and they need a human courier. But this is not the only reason the book was banned. The deeper reason is that Enoch provides what no other canonical text offers: a cosmology, an explanation of the true origins of evil. The official story is vague. Evil comes from Adam and Eve's choice. But why did they choose wrongly? Because of the serpent. And where did the serpent come from? It simply existed? A weak explanation. Enoch gives a precise, legally structured answer. Evil has 2 sources. 1. Forbidden knowledge taught by the fallen, warfare, magic, vanity. 2. A far more terrifying source, the spirits of their hybrid children. The giants, the Nephilim, born from angels and women, died in the flood. But their spirits remained. Enoch writes, "The spirits of the giants will become evil spirits on the earth." They are the demons, not fallen angels, but the restless ghosts of hybrid beings. They hunger, full of hatred for a world that rejected them. They answer to neither heaven nor hell. They are the out-of-control third force, the eternal echo of the Watcher's crime. Enoch's book gave too many answers. It explained the origin of evil. It exposed internal conflicts in heaven. It named the culprits. It described the structure of the cosmos. It turned faith into knowledge. And a system built on faith and submission cannot allow its subjects to know too much. Knowledge is power, therefore, the book had to be buried. Its detailed, shocking report was replaced by the safe fable of an apple and a snake. But one question remains. Enoch claims the children of the fallen angels were giants. Official science calls this a myth. But what if it isn't? What if physical evidence still exists, and we simply aren't told? Whose giant bones are found around the world? Imagine the ancient crime scene. Thousands of years have passed. Direct evidence destroyed. Witnesses gone. But the body remains. Buried, hidden. The earth remembers everything. Sooner or later, it pushes secrets to the surface. The Book of Enoch states, "There lived on earth a race of giants, Nephilim, the offspring of angels and humans." Science calls it legend. But what if it's testimony? If physical evidence lies scattered across the planet, evidence that doesn't fit the convenient model, then we must turn not to church archives but to newspapers. The 19th and early 20th centuries, an era of archaeological discovery before strict academic censorship. And what do we see? Dozens, hundreds of reports across the United States, from Ohio to California, describing findings considered impossible today. New York Times, May 4, 1912. Report from Wisconsin. Archaeologists uncover 18 skeletons. Each was extremely tall, between 7.6 and 10 feet. Their skulls, presumably male, possessed a double row of teeth. A double row of teeth is not human adaptation, it is another biology. August 10, 1883. Bureau of Ethnology, Smithsonian Institution. A mound in Ohio yields a skeleton over 7 feet tall, clad head to toe in copper armor. 1891, Arizona. Workers uncover a stone sarcophagus containing a skeleton 12 feet, 4 meters tall. And these are not isolated anomalies. Many reports conclude with the same line. The remains were sent to the Smithsonian Institution for further study. Yet today the institution denies possessing any such skeletons. Where did they go? Lost or hidden? Science dismisses the reports as mistakes, hoaxes, journalistic exaggerations. But does it make sense that hundreds of unrelated people across decades would fabricate the same pattern? The trail extends worldwide. Ecuador, giant bones found in the Amazon. Romania, Busigi Mountains, 2003. A sealed underground hall discovered, according to leaked reports, built by an unknown civilization. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. And now, my friends, let's continue. Inside are stone tables and thrones built for beings 4 to 5 meters tall. Malta's Halsa Flini Hypogeum, an underground temple where thousands of skeletons were found, including skulls with unusually elongated shapes, as if they belonged to another race. And it's not just bones, it's folklore. Myths of all peoples, absolutely all cultures on Earth, speak of a time when giants walked the world. Greek titans and gigantes, Norse Jotun, Indian Rakshasas, the biblical Rephaim, one of whom, King Og, supposedly slept on an iron bed 4 meters long. Goliath, whom David defeated, was said to be a descendant of these giants. This is a global ancestral memory, a memory of another race, of those who lived before us or alongside us, of those who were larger and stronger, but who were ultimately exterminated. The Book of Enoch says that the Nephilim were monstrous cannibals who devoured the earth's resources. This aligns with the legends of the Paiute Indians. What if the flood wasn't the only cleansing? What if, after the flood, the surviving humans, our ancestors, fought a long and brutal war against the remnants of this hybrid race? A war for the planet, and one we ultimately won. So who were these Nephilim? Let's gather the evidence. They were hybrids, the result of a genetic experiment. The first attempt to create a being that combined the strength and knowledge of angels with the physical form of humans. But the experiment spun out of control. Instead of a superhuman, it produced a monster driven by insatiable hunger, a creature able to draw energy from both worlds, yet lacking a soul, lacking compassion. This was the first attempt to create a weapon. Perhaps the fallen angels wanted to raise an army to reclaim Earth from the heavens, but they couldn't control their creation. If this is true, it becomes clear why such findings are hidden. To acknowledge the Nephilim would mean admitting that the Book of Enoch was right. And if it was right, the entire official history of religion and humanity collapses. The myth that we are the only intelligent species on this planet collapses. The myth of the omnipotence and infallibility of the heavenly hierarchy collapses. But the fallen angels gave humans more than just the genes to create giants. They gave them knowledge, technology. And the most dangerous of these was not the ability to forge swords. It was the knowledge of how the language of creation itself works. The knowledge that with certain words and symbols one can not just ask but command. Can language be used to control angels and demons? In the beginning was the Word. We repeat this phrase without thinking about its literal meaning. For us, a word is just sound, a string of letters. But what if, in the beginning, the Word was a technology? What if the universe is not just a creation but a text, an immense program written in a divine language? And whoever knows this language, whoever knows the correct commands, can rewrite reality. This is one of the forbidden teachings that, according to the Book of Enoch, the fallen angels gave to humanity. Not magic, not spells, fragments of the source code. Official religion says, pray, beg, plead. It places us in the role of beggars before an almighty king. But esoteric tradition, from Kabbalah to medieval grimoires, offers a completely different approach. It says, do not ask, invoke, command. It claims that every entity in this universe, from the smallest spirit to the highest archangel, has a true name. And this name is not just a label, it is its sonic formula, its access key. Whoever knows the true name and pronounces it correctly gains power over the one who bears it. This isn't religion, it's physics, or if you prefer, hacking. Look at Jewish Kabbalah. The entire system is built on 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. Kabbalists say these aren't just letters. They are fundamental forces of creation. God assembled the universe from their combinations. The names of angels in Judaism are not random sounds. They are formulas describing their function. Michael, who is like God; Gabriel, strength of God; Raphael, healing of God. To know the name is to know the function. And to know the function is to be able to use it. Now look at the grimoires, at the Goetia. What is it, essentially? A hacking manual. For each of the 72 demons it provides not only rank and authority but also its seal, its sigil, and exact instructions on how to summon it, what words to say, at what time, what symbols to draw. This is a security protocol that must be followed to access the server. But all of this deals with the dark side. What about hacking the heavens? Let's move to 15th century England, the Tower of London. Before us stands John Dee, one of the greatest minds of his age, mathematician, astronomer, geographer, advisor to Queen Elizabeth I. But he had a secret passion. He believed that there existed a primordial divine language, the language God used to speak with Adam, a language that grants power over reality. He devoted his life to finding it. Together with his medium, Edward Kelly, a man of dubious reputation but apparently remarkable psychic abilities, Dee performed a series of rituals. For 7 years, from 1582 to 1589, they claimed to contact not demons but angels. And these angels, as Dee wrote in his diaries, began dictating. They dictated an alphabet of 21 letters. They dictated grammar and texts, 19 magical keys or invocations. This was the language Dee had sought, the Enochian language, the language of angels. Official science considers it a hoax or the product of disturbed imagination. But linguists who studied Enochian were baffled. It is a fully structured language with its own grammar and syntax. It resembles no known human language. Its words sound guttural, vibrating, as if designed not for human throats. John Dee believed he had been given the key to the universe, the key lost since the time of Enoch, the man who, according to legend, walked with God and spoke his language. Dee believed that with these 19 keys one could open gates to other worlds, speak directly to angels, and access divine knowledge. But the angels who spoke with Dee and Kelly were strange. They demanded absolute obedience. Their messages were filled with apocalyptic warnings. The climax came with their most shocking order. They commanded Dee and Kelly to exchange wives. This act, unthinkable for Puritans, destroyed their friendship and brought the project to an end. What was it? Were they truly angels of light, or a cunning manipulation by a third force? Perhaps demons posing as angels to hand humanity a dangerously powerful technology disguised as a divine gift? We do not know. Dee took that secret to his grave. His diaries miraculously survived, but the idea did not die. The idea that the universe is information, that reality can be programmed, that keys exist which grant control. And if you know the right commands, you can force an angel to serve you. You can command a spirit to reveal secrets. You can hack the system. But hacking always carries risk. It breaks the rules and requires a price. If you can command a spirit using its name, Perhaps you can also make a formal agreement. Can you negotiate with it, sign a contract? And if so, what is written in the fine print? What is the cost of using these keys? And in what currency must it be paid? What is a deal? It is an exchange. You give something to receive something. We do this every day. Buy food, sell our time, trade services. But what if the thing being traded is immaterial? What if the currency is your own eternity? The legend of Dr. Faust, who sold his soul to Mephistopheles for knowledge and pleasure, is not just a tale. It is an archetype woven deeply into our culture of fear and temptation, the idea that you can have everything at once but must pay the highest price. The official interpretation, both religious and secular, calls it a metaphor for moral downfall. But what if it's not a metaphor? What if the demonic contract is a real, legally binding agreement? And the soul is not poetic symbolism but a concrete asset. Let's analyze this contract like lawyers. Every agreement has 4 elements: parties, subject, terms, and signature. The parties, on one side a human, on the other, a representative of the infernal corporation. Not necessarily Satan himself, more often one of his top managers, like the 72 aristocrats of the Goetia. They are authorized to negotiate. The subject, the human, requests earthly benefits: wealth, power, love, knowledge, youth. The demon provides these services. And what does he demand in return? The soul. Always the soul. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, and now I continue, my friends. Why? Why do they not want our money, our loyalty, our servile labor during life? Why do they want this immaterial asset specifically? This brings us to a shocking hypothesis. The soul is not simply our self, it is our energy source, the very power plant we spoke about earlier. Each of us is a small autonomous generator producing a unique energy, the energy of free will. While we live, that energy belongs to us. But what happens after death? Where does it go? Perhaps by default, by the terms of the universal contract, it returns to its creator, replenishing the energy reserves of the heavenly corporation. And here the most interesting part begins. A demonic contract is essentially a transfer of ownership rights. It is a legal document that allows the infernal empire, after a person's physical death, to seize this generator and connect it to its own energy system. They do not want our suffering for the sake of suffering. That is inefficient. They want our potential, our energy. The soul is not a metaphor. It is currency, the most valuable currency in the universe. Now the terms. Usually, the contract is set for a specific period, 24 years for Faust, 7 years in other cases. A period during which the person may use the granted benefits. It resembles a loan. Hell issues you a credit for granting your desires, and your soul is the collateral. And when the term ends, you cannot repay the loan. The terms are always structured so repayment is impossible, and the bank takes your collateral. And finally, the signature. Why always in blood? It is not merely theatrical. In esoteric tradition, blood is the carrier of life force, not a fetish. It is the concentration of your unique energetic signature. A signature in blood is like a cryptographic signature today, impossible to forge. You place not just your name on the line, but your life essence itself. Thousands of stories, from medieval legends to inquisitorial protocols, describe such agreements. For example, the Pact of Urbain Grandier, the French priest accused of witchcraft in 1634. According to records, the original contract, written in Latin backward and signed by him and several demons, is still stored in the National Library of France. If the soul is currency, what is its exchange rate? How much is a human soul worth? Its value appears so immense that the infernal corporation is willing to offer nearly any earthly blessing in return. This implies they suffer from acute energy hunger. They are losing the resource race against the heavens and are willing to take risks, signing individual contracts to obtain even a few additional generators. But who sets this exchange rate? Who is the chief banker of this system? Who monitors the enforcement of these contracts? There must be some form of arbitration. This raises a far more troubling question. If a person signs such a contract, are they doomed, or is there a way to break it? And what happens when the contract expires? Does a demon simply arrive to claim the soul, or is the process far more complex and bureaucratic? What if, to ensure the contract is fulfilled, a special agent is assigned to the debtor? Not just a watcher, but someone who ensures the client does not slip off the hook, someone who pushes them toward more sins, increasing the debt and making redemption impossible. What if the spirit helpers, familiars, that witches and sorcerers received were not servants, but debt collectors from hell? Every dictator has a secret police. Every mafia boss has his capos. Every bank issuing high-risk loans has its security division. Why assume the infernal corporation, investing enormous resources into a single person, would leave them unsupervised? The idea of a familiar seems almost cozy, a little imp in the shape of a black cat, a wise raven, a cunning ferret. In popular culture, they are loyal companions to witches, helping with magic, giving advice, serving as spies. The official view of witch hunters of the 10th to 15th centuries was simple. A familiar is a demon in animal form serving the witch in exchange for a drop of her blood. A tool, a gift from the devil. But let's examine the interrogation protocols, not stories, but legal documents of the era, court records of the Salem trials, confessions from the Malleus Maleficarum. Reading between the lines reveals a very different and far more sinister picture. The familiar is not a gift, it is part of the contract. It not only assists, it monitors. A familiar almost always appears after the pact is made. It is a representative of the company assigned to the client. Its first job is training. It teaches the witch the basics of sorcery, passing down corporate knowledge. But what exactly does it teach? The protocols repeat the same themes: blighting livestock, cursing neighbors, making love potions, petty malicious acts. This is not the grand knowledge one would trade a soul for. It resembles initiation into criminal activity. The familiar pushes its master into committing more and more offenses, making return impossible. Every curse is another line in the file, another charge added. Its second task is surveillance. The familiar is always nearby, on the shoulder, at the foot of the bed, hidden in shadows. It sees everything, hears everything. Many witches confessed that they feared their familiars, that these creatures threatened them if they tried to go to church, to pray, to repent. Isabel Gaudy, a Scottish witch, in 1662 described in detail how her familiar punished her for missing a Sabbath. He was not a servant, he was a prison warden. And the third, most important function, credit inspector. His work is to ensure the debtor stays on the path toward final payment, that their soul becomes unfit for heavenly claims, saturated with darkness, anger, and despair. Viewed as business, it becomes clear. The infernal empire invests in a person, granting power and knowledge. This is a risky investment. The person may repent, attempt to void the contract. The familiar is the insurance, the tracking device, the agent of influence ensuring the investment pays off. He is the whisper at your shoulder saying, at the moment of doubt, go on. You have no other choice. They won't forgive you anyway. This explains why familiars often took the form of domestic animals: cats, dogs, toads, creatures we trust. Perfect camouflage for a spy. But some familiars were invisible, those that appeared only as a voice in the mind. Think of Joan of Arc. She heard the voices of saints guiding her, a heavenly consultant, an angelic advisor. Now imagine the mirror version, a voice whispering not about courage but about revenge, not about forgiveness but about resentment. A voice that sounds like your own, yet belongs to your infernal credit inspector. This system of control is ideal. It requires no physical force. It works through manipulation, through a gradual shift in morality. The person prepares their own soul for extraction. If this system is so refined, if it has been perfected for centuries, then it must have had an origin, a precedent, A first deal, the first alliance between human and a force opposing the heavenly order. And this trail takes us to the very beginning, to the Garden of Eden. But not to Eve and Adam. To the one whose name was erased from all canonical texts, the one created not from a rib, but from the same clay as Adam, his equal. The one who refused to submit and was cast out. The one who, according to Apocrypha, became the mother of demons and the first witch. Why was Lilith's story so meticulously hidden? What if she was not simply the first rebel, but the founder of an alternative system, the very third force that refused to choose between two prisons? In every family album there is a photograph with a face cut out, a name no longer spoken at the table, a secret everyone knows but no one discusses. In the grand story of humanity, that missing face, that forbidden name, is Lilith. The official version given from childhood is simple. The first couple is Adam and Eve. He is the first man, she is the first woman, made from his rib to be his helper. This is a foundational narrative. But what if the foundation cracked before the structure was even finished? Let us return to the scene, the book of Genesis. Open chapter 1, verse 27. So God created man in his own image, male and female he created them. Listen carefully, man and woman together, as equals. Now turn the page to chapter 2. The story changes. First Adam is created alone, placed in Eden. Then God brings him all the animals, but finds no suitable companion. Only then, by putting Adam to sleep, does he take a rib from him and create Eve. Two different creation stories, one about equality, the other about hierarchy. Why? What happened between chapter 1 and chapter 2? Who was the first woman of chapter 1, gone by chapter 2? To find the answer, we must turn again to forbidden texts, those that did not pass censorship. The medieval alphabet of Ben Sira is one such document. It fills this gap. It gives her name, Lilith. According to the text, Lilith was not made from Adam's rib but from the same earth. Created at the same moment. His equal. And that was the problem. The conflict, as described, began over a simple yet deeply symbolic argument. When they lay together, Adam insisted he should be on top because he was the man. Lilith replied, "I will not lie beneath you, for we are both equal, for both of us were created from the earth." This was not a quarrel about sex. It was a quarrel about power submission, the very structure of the world proposed by the heavenly order. Lilith was the first to read the user agreement and refused to accept the terms. She was the first dissident among humans. Adam tried to force her, and then she did the unthinkable. She used the very forbidden knowledge we spoke about. She spoke the secret, unpronounceable name of God, and that name gave her power. She sprouted wings and escaped Eden. She was not cast out, she left of her own will. A precedent-setting act of rebellion. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, and now I continue, my friends. The heavenly corporation could not ignore such a challenge. They sent 3 angels in pursuit, Sino, Sansu Sino, and Sema Angeloff. They overtook her at the Red Sea and delivered God's ultimatum: return, or 100 of your children will die every day. Lilith refused. She chose freedom, even at such a monstrous cost. Do you understand how dangerous this story is for the official system? It offers an alternative. Lucifer rebelled and founded his empire of evil, a mirror of the heavens. Eve submitted and became the foremother of humanity, living under the laws of order. But Lilith proposed a third path, not submission and not rebellion for the throne, but departure, creating her own space with her own rules. She was the first anarchist, the first feminist, the first to say no to the entire dualistic system. This is why her story had to be erased, and she herself demonized. A monstrous PR campaign began. Her name, mentioned only once in the Bible, in the book of Isaiah, as the title of a night creature, became synonymous with the worst horrors. She was turned into a child killer, a succubus who visits men in their sleep to steal their seed and give birth to demons. From a woman equal to the Creator, a fighter for freedom, they sculpted a vengeful, lustful monster. A classic tactic, If you cannot defeat an idea, destroy its bearer. They erased her from Genesis and replaced her with obedient, convenient Eve, created from a rib, secondary by design. They turned her story into a nightmare and her name into a curse. But what if she did not simply run away? What if, standing at the Red Sea, a chaotic primordial place, she did not remain alone? What if she found allies? Remember those who do not fit into the black and white scheme: Jinn, Fae, elemental spirits, those who live by their own laws. What if Lilith is not merely the mother of demons? What if she is the queen of all neutral forces, the one who united under her banner those who pledged allegiance neither to light nor to darkness? The one building her own kingdom in the shadow of the Great War, a kingdom of freedom, magic, and chaos. Not the destructive chaos of hell, but the primordial chaos of life itself. Her story proves that hierarchy is not absolute. You can walk out of it, you can leave the system. But this raises an even more dizzying question. If a human made of clay can challenge the entire order and walk away, can another human go in the opposite direction? If one can fall or depart sideways, can one ascend? Not simply enter heaven after death, but climb the hierarchical ladder while alive, becoming an equal to the angels, becoming one of them? If such a path exists, is it the most guarded secret of the Vatican and every church in the world? Think about it. What is a career ladder? A path upward, from clerks to managers, from managers to directors, from directors to the board. We accept this model in our world. But what if the same model operates in the universe? What if the heavenly hierarchy is not a closed club of light beings, but an open corporation where even clay-born creatures can advance? Official theology says, man is man, angel is angel. Between us lies an unbridgeable gulf. We may become saints, enter heaven, gain eternal peace, but we can never change our nature or become something greater. This is the glass ceiling established by the Creator himself. But is it truly so? What if this ceiling is a fiction designed to keep us in place? Let us recall the man whose name keeps resurfacing in our investigation, Enoch, the seventh patriarch from Adam, the author of the Forbidden Book. What does the official Bible say? In Genesis chapter 5, there is only one, but remarkably mysterious line, and Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. He was not, he did not die. All other patriarchs, Seth, Enosh, Kenan, lived so many years and died. But Enoch did not die. God took him. Where? To find the answer, we must turn to texts churches prefer not to quote: Jewish mysticism, Kabbalah, the Zohar, and the second Slavonic book of Enoch. These sources describe a transformation. According to them, God did not take Enoch on a sightseeing tour. He gave him a promotion, the highest possible. Enoch passed through all 7 heavens. He saw the Lord's throne, and at the summit of creation something astonishing happened. His human body was transformed. Angels removed his earthly garments, his physical form, and anointed him with fragrant oil, turning his skin into radiance. He became like one of them. From a mortal man, he became an immortal being of light and fire. And even that was not all. He was not a simple angel. He received a new name, Metatron, and a new role, Chief Angel, the heavenly scribe, the voice of God, the one seated closest to the throne, through whom all divine commands pass. Think about it. A former human, a mortal of clay, becomes the prime minister of the heavenly corporation. Above him is only the director himself. This is not merely a success story, it is a precedent that breaks the system. It proves hierarchy is not fixed, the glass ceiling can be shattered, and that the human is not a finished product but raw material, a chrysalis that, under certain conditions, becomes a butterfly. Now the crucial question: why has this story, so inspiring, so powerful, been nearly erased from the collective mind? Why does the Vatican not proclaim it from every pulpit? Because it is dangerous. It changes the rules of the game. If a human can become an angel, then we are not simply passive resources fought over by 2 empires. We are potential players, a third force able not only to choose a side but to form our own or even lead an existing one. Imagine humanity discovering the path of ascension, realizing we need not wait for salvation, but can evolve. What happens to the power of churches built on intermediary roles? Who needs a mediator if anyone can speak to God directly? What happens to the Great War? What happens to the heavenly and infernal corporations if their main resource, human souls, stops being mere energy? Imagine billions requesting promotions, demanding seats on the board. This is an existential threat to both systems. They would lose their food supply. Their power would collapse. That is why Enoch's path had to remain a secret, esoteric knowledge for the chosen few. His case was framed as unique, unrepeatable. This is not for you. But is that true? What if Enoch was not the only one? What if others, like Elijah, taken alive into heaven by a fiery chariot, also walked this path? What if the greatest saints, mystics, ascetics reached this state of transformation? That would mean a technology exists, a method, a path by which a human can trigger metamorphosis. And this technology is likely hidden in plain sight, in prayer, meditation, fasting. But its key element, the activator, has been removed. The Vatican, as the largest keeper of ancient texts and artifacts, may well possess this key and hide it not out of malice but out of fear. Fear it may fall into the wrong hands, or that control will be lost. But if ascended humans exist, if they have formed their own faction in heaven, a human department, what are they doing up there? Do they merely enjoy eternity, or do they continue to influence our world? Could the saints worshipped by millions be that heavenly human legion? If so, what is their role in the eternal war? In every large corporation, there is a union, an organization that is officially part of the system but protects the workers. They know the internal rules, they can speak with management, but their loyalty belongs to people. What if the saints in Christianity are the heavenly union? The official version calls them intercessors, righteous ones granted the honor of standing before God. We pray to them. They carry our requests upward. It is a beautiful picture, but it does not explain why saints behave so humanly, so unlike angels. Angels are executors. They bring messages, punish, protect, but almost never show initiative. The Archangel Gabriel does not decide on his own whether to bring Mary the Annunciation. The angels who destroy Sodom do not take a vote. They carry out the decree. Saints act differently. They intervene, negotiate, argue with God. Remember Abraham bargaining for Sodom. Remember Moses pleading for the Israelites after the golden calf. They behave not as subordinates but as advocates. Hagiographies are full of such stories. Saint Nicholas secretly gives gold to a ruined father, saving his daughters from slavery. He appears in Emperor Constantine's dream demanding the cancellation of an unjust execution. He acts independently. His motivation is compassion, human compassion. Saints are not merely former humans. They remain human. They retain memory, character, free will. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. And now I continue, my friends. They did not dissolve into divine light. They created a human colony in the heavens, an enclave. And this enclave appears to have its own internal structure. Each saint has a specialization, almost like the angels do, but rooted in their earthly experience. Saint Christopher protects travelers. Saint Luke guides doctors and artists. Saint Apollonia helps those who suffer from toothaches. This is not heavenly bureaucracy. It is a community of mutual aid. They are our people on the other side, our union. But if this is true, what is their role in the Great War? They officially reside on the territory of the heavenly corporation, but whose interests do they truly represent? Imagine a meeting of the Heavenly War Council. Archangel Michael reports on the situation at the front and suggests launching a preemptive strike on another breeding ground of sin on earth. Destroy a city, punish a nation. Strategically, it may be justified. And then one of the saints rises. Someone like Francis of Assisi. Wait. I know these people. I lived among them. Give them another chance. I will send my Franciscan brothers. They will speak to them. Or Joan of Arc, you cannot sacrifice this country. I fought for it. It has potential. They are not merely advocates. They are lobbyists. Lobbyists for humanity in the highest echelons of celestial authority. They inject into the cold, systematic logic of angels something angels lack: doubt, mercy, memory of what it feels like to be weak, frightened, imperfect, made of clay. They are a third force, but not one that fights against everyone. They are a force working inside the system, trying to change it from within. They are the internal opposition of the heavenly kingdom. Their goal is not victory at any cost, but the protection of humanity, sometimes even from hell, and sometimes from heaven itself, from its ruthless righteousness and cold logic. They are our immunity, our representation, a heavenly legion of former humans who fight not for God and not against the devil, but for us. This idea changes everything. It means the heavens are not monolithic. There is constant conflict there, not only between angelic factions, but also between angels and ascended humans. And if we speak of heaven and hell, of paradise and the underworld as real structured realms, where are they? In the clouds? Under the ground? These are metaphors for children. If we are conducting a serious investigation, we must try to draw a map of invisible worlds. Do guides to such places exist? Is there a road to heaven or hell? Any traveler knows this. Before you begin your journey, you need a map. A map shows where you are going, and what awaits on the way. We speak of heaven and hell, of angels and demons. But where does all of this actually take place? Where is the battlefield? The official simplified version gives us a childish picture: heaven above in the clouds, hell below the ground, earth in the middle. It is convenient and visual, but it is not a map, it is propaganda. What if real maps exist? What if mystics, prophets, and poets were not fantasists, but cartographers, researchers who managed to peer beyond the veil and sketch the outlines of invisible landscapes? Let us take the most famous guidebook to the afterlife, Dante Alighieri's Divine Comedy. We are used to seeing it as a grand poetic work, an allegory. But what if it is a detailed travel report, almost documentary? Look at the structure. It is not simply a good place and a bad place. It is a complex, layered geography. Dante's hell is not just a fiery pit. It is a colossal funnel descending toward the center of the earth. 9 circles, each for a particular type of sinner. The lower the circle, the more severe the sin. Limbo for the unbaptized, the second circle for the lustful, the third for gluttons, and so on, down to the center where Lucifer himself is frozen in the icy lake of Cocytus. This is not just poetry, it is classification, an attempt to systematize spiritual reality. Each circle has its own topography, its guardians, its laws, like descriptions of high-security prison levels, each with its own regimen. Next comes Purgatory, a mountain on the opposite side of the world, 7 terraces corresponding to the 7 deadly sins. But here it is not punishment, it is rehabilitation. Souls ascend, shedding their vices. Not a prison, but a recovery center. And finally, heaven, 9 celestial spheres, Moon, Mercury, Venus, each for souls of a certain purity. Above them is the 10th heaven, the dwelling of God and the angelic host. This is not simply a good place, it is a hierarchy, a corporate ladder that souls climb according to merit. Dante's map is surprisingly logical, but not unique. Jewish Kabbalah describes 7 heavens: Violin, empty; Rakia, where the fallen angels are held; Shehakim, where manna is ground and paradise gardens lie; up to Aravat, the 7th, the throne of glory and the souls of the righteous. In Islamic tradition, the Quran and Hadiths also describe 7 heavens, through which the Prophet Muhammad passed during the night journey Miraj. On each heaven he met prophets: Adam, Jesus, Moses. 7 heavens, 9 circles of hell, purgatories, Sheol, Hades, Duat. All these traditions describe the same thing: the invisible world is structured and multilayered. It is not chaos. So what are these places? Other planets? No, that would be too simple. Modern physics gives a clue. String theory speaks of 10, 11, or even more dimensions. Most of them are compact, inaccessible to our senses. What if heaven, hell, purgatory are not locations but frequencies? Different vibrational levels, dimensions existing right here, in the same point of space as this room, but on another wavelength. After death, the soul retunes itself to the frequency that matches its state. The righteous and light rise to higher frequencies, worlds of harmony and light. The sinful and heavy descend to lower, denser worlds of suffering and decay. This is not reward or punishment, it is physics. The thin places of myth, sacred mountains, groves, places of power, are points where the veil between dimensions grows thin, where frequencies intersect. They are portals, gates. That is why mystics and shamans always perform their rituals there, retuning consciousness to glimpse the other side. The road to heaven or hell is not a path in space, it is a path within, a change of inner state and clarity. If the maps of Dante, Kabbalists, and Muslim mystics are so similar, describing the same reality in different languages, that is no coincidence. It is a global, universal experience. Look at the myths of non-Abrahamic civilizations, and you will see the same pattern. From India to Scandinavia, from Iran to Mesoamerica, they all tell the same story, changing only the names. Myth is not primitive explanation. It is memory of a real event, a great cosmic war that truly took place. Its echo reached every culture. Each civilization preserved the memory, translated it, renamed its heroes, and wove it into its landscape. We are a species with amnesia. We forgot our history, but it survived in myths. If the war was real, it never ended. Conflicts shift form, adapt, mutate. Today we witness the same war on new stages. Ancient forces wear new masks suited to the era. Angels in fiery chariots become extraterrestrials in spacecraft. Demons whispering into the ear become digital viruses. Algorithms of social networks manipulating consciousness. An actor playing one role for centuries changes makeup and costume, but the essence remains. Ancient forces are the same. Today they appear in technological attire. We live in a secular, scientific world. Old words, angels, demons, magic, have lost their power. To influence us, ancient forces needed rebranding. A new language, a new mythology. Consider the phenomenon of UFOs and extraterrestrials. Official science ignores it, governments deny it, yet the testimonies continue to surface, thousands of accounts. Analyze them calmly, stripping away panic and fascination, and you will see disturbing parallels. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. And now I continue, my friends. Let's take the classic contact scenario. Beings descend from the heavens in shining, silent craft. They are often described as tall, fair-haired, beautiful, radiating light and kindness, the Scandinavian type of extraterrestrials. They bring a message, warning humanity of nuclear threats, ecological disasters, and calling us to spiritual growth and unity. They are our elder brothers, our mentors, heavenly saviors. Now open the book of the prophet Ezekiel. His vision, 4 winged creatures emerging from a fiery cloud. Wheels within wheels, moving at incredible speed. A throne of sapphire. This does not read like a description of a cloud. It reads like a complex mechanism. The fiery chariot on which the prophet Elijah ascended. Angels descending from the heavens. These are not mere metaphors. They are Bronze Age people trying to describe advanced technology in their own language. Today, heavenly saviors are the same angels, only now we call their chariots flying saucers. Now let's look at the other side of the phenomenon, stories of abductions. Small gray beings with large black eyes. They take people against their will, usually at night, from their beds, conduct painful medical experiments, collect genetic material, implant devices, instill fear, and erase memories, leaving only vague, unsettling impressions. Open medieval treatises on demonology, tales of incubi and succubi. demons visiting humans at night, engaging in sexual acts against their will to create hybrid offspring. The same stories of nocturnal visitors. The same fear. The same theme of genetic experimentation. Are the gray aliens just a technological version of the old demons? Only now, instead of magic, they use scalpels and lasers. The ancient war has not vanished. It has simply moved to a new technological level. One side offers salvation through external intervention, through submission to a higher intelligence. The other uses us as test subjects for unknown purposes. But neither side treats us as equals. They see us as objects, as resources. And this war is not only in the heavens. It continues here, in the world we created ourselves, in the digital realm. What is hell, at its core? A kingdom of illusion, a place where reality is distorted, where you are shown what you want to see to trap you. Look at social media. Algorithms monitor every click, every like, creating a personal information bubble, your comfortable little reality. They show only what confirms your beliefs, amplify fears, and inflame hatred for those who think differently. Divide and conquer. The perfect Maya-like technology, the illusion the Hindus spoke of. Ancient demons whispered temptation to one person. Modern digital demons, algorithms, whisper to billions simultaneously. They create chaos, addiction, spiritual degradation, but do it so subtly that we believe it is our own free choice. And what about the other side? The concept of techno-angels, the idea of creating an omnipotent, omnibenevolent AI, a god from the machine, that will solve all our problems, establish eternal peace, conquer disease, grant immortality. We are once again waiting for a savior. Only before, we looked to the skies. Now, we look to Silicon Valley. But here too lies a trap. Any omnipotent AI, even created with the best intentions, will demand total control. To establish perfect order, it must take from us our freedom, our unpredictability, the very chaos that makes us human. We again face a choice between two cages, the perfect order of a digital dictatorship or the sweet chaos of digital anarchy. The old players have only changed masks. The war for our energy, for our will, continues, not on battlefields or in temples, but on our smartphone screens, in news feeds, in the code that governs our lives. We sought traces of this war in ancient texts, in other realms, in the cosmos. We traced it through history. And now, at the end of this journey, we face the most important and unsettling question. What if we were looking in the wrong place all along? What if all these hierarchies, angels and demons, aliens and algorithms, are not external forces at all? What if the Great War happens not in heaven or hell, but inside each of us? We have traveled far, descending into archives, ascending to the heavens, peering into the abyss of hell. We looked for evidence, interrogated witnesses, studied maps. We were detectives investigating the oldest crime in the universe. All this time we assumed, there is us, and there is them. An external enemy and an external savior. Now let us ask the most dangerous question. What if they do not exist? What if this cosmic drama is only a projection, a giant, intricately crafted metaphor for what is happening right now inside each of us? Return to the beginning, the heavenly blueprint. 9 angelic orders, perfect order. Seraphim, burning with love. Cherubim, guardians of knowledge. Thrones, embodiments of justice. But what if this is not a description of an external hierarchy? What if it is a map of our highest potential, a chart of our own consciousness in an ideal awakened state? Love, wisdom, justice, will, harmony, these angelic orders are not up there. They are what we can become. Fundamental programs embedded within us. Our inner angel. And now the hellish aristocracy, 72 princes of darkness. Baal, Agars, Paimon. Each governs a threshold, a temptation, wrath, envy, greed, lust, pride, sloth, gluttony. This is not merely the 7 deadly sins. It is a classification of our inner demons, destructive programs, complexes, and traumas. A Gothic grimoire is not a guide to summoning external demons. It is a catalogue of the internal parasites of the mind, our personal hell. The great war between Michael and Satan is not in space. It is here, on the battlefield of your heart. Every time you face a choice, to speak a harsh truth or a comforting lie, to help or pass by, to forgive or hold a grudge, two generals clash within. Your inner Michael, the voice of conscience, duty, compassion, and your inner Satan, the voice of ego, fear, desire for immediate gratification. The entire history of humanity, with its warriors and masterpieces, saints and tyrants, is only the external reflection of this internal struggle, multiplied by billions. This idea is not new. Great mystics of all traditions spoke of it. The kingdom of God is within you, as stated in the Gospel of Luke. Sufis teach the great jihad, not against unbelievers, but against the lower self. Buddhism asserts that all gods and demons are projections of the mind. We created external gods and devils because it is easier to believe that evil is external, that good will come and save us. It absolves responsibility. But if we accept the last hypothesis, responsibility returns and becomes total. If angels and demons are our inner programs, who activates them? We do, through our choices, our attention. Where do you direct your energy? Creation or destruction? Which wolf do you feed inside yourself? The ascension of Enoch is not a physical flight to heaven. It is an alchemical process of internal transformation, integrating all internal orders, subduing the demons, becoming whole, becoming Metatron, the ruler of your own inner world. Selling your soul to the devil is not signing a blood contract. It is consciously choosing to serve lower instincts, letting demons seize control over consciousness, losing your true self. In this worldview, we are not pawns, we are chess players. The universe reflects the game we play with ourselves. So was the entire investigation in vain? All ancient texts, hierarchies, and artifacts, mere imagination? No. Perhaps the truth, as always, lies in the middle. As above, so below, the ancient Hermetic principle. The inner world and the outer are mirrors, and our inner angels and demons are antennas tuning us to external forces. Our choice attracts external influence. Primary is our choice. And now we stand at the end of the journey without easy answers, without a clear division of good and evil, with one realization. In this great war, there is only one witness, one judge, one soldier, whose decisions determine the outcome. That witness, judge, and soldier is you. The war is not over. It never ends. And right now, it is your move. Our 2-hour journey through heavenly blueprints and hellish grimoires comes to an end. We descended from shining heights, where flawless design first cracked, to depths where chaos revealed an unervingly strict order. We sought truth in sacred canons and forbidden books, trying to understand the rules of the game, in which humanity is both battlefield and prize. And behind all these warriors, angels and demons, lost gospels, and forgotten gods, one conclusion emerges. The great confrontation is not a war of light and darkness for the soul. It is a war between two mirrored empires over the universe's most precious resource, our free will. We were offered a choice between two cages, one of gold and light, the other of fire and shadow. But no one ever told us we didn't have to choose at all. The entire cosmic drama, from the rebellion of the first dissident to prophecies of the final battle, is a grand spectacle to keep us from realizing our own power. The power is not only to choose a side, but to reject the war. Every choice we make, great or small, is a move in an infinite game, shifting the balance of power in the universe. And the main question remains, if the hierarchy is a system of control, and we are not pawns but the key to the game's outcome, whose side will we take when we finally realize we can found our own third kingdom? This story does not end with the credits. It continues in your thoughts. Thank you for watching to the end. Like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell to never miss a video. Also, check out my other videos. And I say to you, until next time, my friends.